Hey everybody, welcome to the Dice Matrix. This is a new little series called Dice Advice, where I'm going to give tips, insights, and some advice concerning board games, board gamers, and many aspects in those situations. Today's episode is entitled Component Check. So what does that mean? Let's take a look at that. Well, hello, how are you doing? I just got back from the game store and I am eager to play a game. I even have my new game all wrapped up in plastic, Noria here. Even if you don't want to play your game right off the bat, you should probably crack it open, and here's why. So you get down to the table and now you're going to want to open it up. So you probably should use a safety cutter. I'm pretty safe with this, but you should really use a recommended safety cutter when you're doing that. Now in a massive game like Noria, there's going to be many components. You never know when something's going to be missing out of a set, or if a board's going to be bent or anything like that. So take this early opportunity to take a look inside your box to make sure everything's going to be looking okay. Make sure that you get the manual, and on every manual that you have for every game, of course, is a components list. Most people don't even think about looking for something until it's gone, which will be a point that I talk about a little bit later. But the thing that you want to do is make sure that you take out every item, every punch board, and you want to punch all of your items out of every punch board, then sort them into each individual items and group them and sprawl them all across your table. Because, and especially in a massive game like this where there's so many different little components, it's easy to get lost on what's what. Now this will also help you play the game later, because as you do a component check, it'll help you identify it. So when you read the rules, it'll make it a lot easier to play the game. So now that you have everything checked off in your components list, you feel pretty good. Well, but sometimes what if things don't? Let me give you an example of something else that you might not notice. The reason why you check so early is I have a game called Five Tribes here. This was given to me as a birthday gift, one of my earliest games when I got into modern board gaming. And I played many games with this, but I played with 3 or 4 players. It wasn't until I decided to play a 2-player game that I realized that there was a different number of meeples, camels that you needed in the game, and I was missing 2 of the pink camels. So what do? Well, in some of these situations, you can contact online different distributors. And I contacted Days of Wonder. They have a sheet that you fill out and you tell them your problem, what you're missing. Now, some places you might have to pay or order for the items. But in this case, a lot of the companies, if you just tell them what was missing, then, you know, they'll send something out to you. Now, and I have another shout out, which Days of Wonder did send me 2 candles. Now, I have a shout out to Gray Fox Games. I just recently acquired Champions of Midgard from a friend, but it was missing one of the warrior dice, just 1 die. And I didn't mind paying for it, but I pulled up on my phone Gray Fox Games, and I sent an email to them just to contact them and let them know that I received a game from a friend under the situation, and I just needed 1 white die. Where could I buy one at? Because I'm happy to pay for it, and there's places that can do that. But out of kindness of their hearts, they just said, you need just 1 warrior die or swordsman die? And I said, yes. And they said, no problem, and they're mailing it out to me. It should be here in a day or 2. So a lot of these companies will work with you if you tell them that you were missing things. Also, don't forget, there are many other different ways to get your items and different procedures to use to be smart about returning these items. So, as I said before, I checked on my phone. Using the internet is a great way to find out the resources of numbers and emails you can do to contact these companies. If you purchase your item on Amazon or eBay, they have pretty good, straightforward contacts of information of how to get in touch with the people to get your item back. Now, receipts are very important. Now, if you go to a store to get a physical receipt, some people in the day of green age thinking where it's like, oh, I'm going to get everything digital, that's fine. If you get a digital receipt, no problem. You have proof of it in your email. But you should always, if you go to a physical store and they do not provide a digital receipt, you should probably go ahead and get a physical receipt, just because it makes things easier. Now, your local store might be good to you, but what if you get the wrong associate that day or somebody in a bad mood? I'm not saying that they don't practice business that way, but people are people. And it doesn't matter whether you're going to Walmart, Target, a grocery store. Just having a receipt is a very good idea, and it saves a lot of problem. A lot of these games cost 50 bucks or more, so when you're spending that kind of money, it probably would be a good idea to get some receipts. Now, if you have any problems with confronting people straight up with this, you have the emails, because if you're afraid of like, what do? I don't know what to do. Well, the internet is also a great place to go, because you can watch YouTube videos to see how to get advice and tips on just how to do about everything. Am I right? Sometimes we don't take that moment to prepare to look at items, to check things, and then some time has passed by. If you got the game and you haven't even opened it up till a year later, or even if you give it a gift to someone, keep your receipt. They may not play it for a while or use it until a certain time, and then they're missing it. So you don't want somebody to have an incomplete game. And there's nothing worse than having a feeling when you're excited about a game and you decide not to crack it open until the day that you bring a bunch of people over. Even if you know how to play the game at somebody else's house, it doesn't mean that every component that you have is there. So use your online resources, use your people resources, use everything that you have, and use a lot of common sense. I hope that you found a tip today in Dice Advice that would help you. And if you did, just like and subscribe. If not, then just say, hey, you suck, dude, because I'm used to that. All right, until next time, keep the dice rolling.